Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to show you exactly how I create these cinematic portraits using nothing more than LED lights, colored gel, gobos, and a projector inside my home studio. No strobes, no flash, no expensive commercial studio, just continuous light, a few creative tools, and a willingness to experiment. Everything you're seeing was photographed with my Sony A1 paired primarily with the Sony 50mm 1.2 GM and the Sigma Art 35mm 1.2. One of the things I love most about working with continuous light is that you can see the final image before you even press the shutter. There's no guessing, no chimping after every shot. What you see is what you get. For this shoot, I wanted something more dramatic, something colorful, something cinematic, and maybe something a little futuristic. My inspiration came from fashion editorials, music videos, and modern commercial photography. Instead of focusing on complicated lighting diagrams, I focus on three things: color, shadow, and shape. Those three elements are responsible for almost everything you're seeing in these photographs. When you combine them efficiently, even a plain white wall can become a powerful backdrop. And the best part of that is most of what you're seeing was created in camera. Very little of this look came from Photoshop. One thing people often assume is that you need a giant studio to create images like these. You really don't. My studio is relatively small. As evident, see the video above. The walls are simple, the space is limited. The secret isn't the size of the room, the secret is controlling the light. Because I was shooting with continuous LED lighting, I could constantly move lights around and immediately see how those changes affected the final image. I could watch the shadows move across the model's face, I could see the colors blend together, and I could make adjustments on the spot. That real-time feedback is one of the biggest advantages of working with LEDs. Let's talk about color. Color is one of the easiest ways to make an image feel cinematic. For many of these photographs, I use opposing colors, most commonly red and cyan, or red and blue. These combinations create visual tension and help separate the subject from the background. Typically, I place the red light on one side of the model and the cooler colored light on the other side. I wasn't trying to create a perfect, even lighting. In fact, I wanted the opposite. I wanted contrast. I wanted color separation. I wanted depth. When warm and cool tones meet across the face, the image immediately becomes more dramatic. Now, let's talk about shadows. This is where the gobos come into play. If you're unfamiliar with the term, a gobo is simply an object placed between the light source and the subject to create shadow patterns. It can be professionally made or it can be homemade. You can even make them out of cardboard. For this shoot, I use various geometric patterns to create dramatic shadows across the model's face and body. The key is making those shadows intentional. They're not random. They're helping direct the viewer's eye. They're adding depth. They're adding mystery. And they're helping transform a simple portrait into something much more artistic. One technique I frequently use is placing the gobos close to the light source. That creates sharper shadow edges. Moving the gobo closer to the model softens the effect. Even a few inches can completely change the look. Another tool that plays a major role in the shoot is a projector. And honestly, projectors are one of the most underrated creative tools in portrait photography. A projector allows you to project shapes, patterns, textures, even videos. In one of these portraits, I projected a simple band of light across the model's eyes. And that's it. A simple strip of light, but that one detail completely changed the mood of the photograph. Let's talk about gear. The camera for this shoot was a Sony A1. For lenses, I alternated between the Sony 50mm 1.2 and the Sigma 35mm 1.2. The Sony 50mm gave me beautiful subject separation and intimate portraits. The Sigma 35 allowed me to include more of the lighting effects and environment because I was shooting with continuous lighting. I typically work between f1.2 and f2.0. My shutter speed usually stayed between 1/125 and 1/250 of a second. And my ISO varied depending on the brightness of the LEDs. Now let's talk about directing the model. Creative lighting can only take you so far. The model still has to bring the image to life. For this shoot, I'll focus on subtle posing and small movements. Tiny changes in head position, slight changes in expression, and gentle adjustments in the hands. Because the lighting was already dramatic, I didn't need any dramatic posing. In fact, some of my favorite photos came from the simplest expressions. A direct stare into the camera, a slight head tilt, a subtle movement of the shoulders. When the lighting is doing most of the heavy lifting, simplicity often creates the strongest images. At the end of the day, these shoots prove that you didn't need a massive studio filled with expensive equipment to create compelling portraits. You needed creativity, you need basic understanding of light, and you need the willingness to experiment. If you're a portrait photographer looking to push your creativity farther, I encourage you to try something like this. Start simple, experiment with color, experiment with shadow, experiment with projection, and most importantly, have fun creating. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below telling me which image you favored. I'm Quan Smith. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.